Hello everyone, in this video I'll be ranking all of the shields in Baldur's Gate 3 on a tier list. There's some pretty cool shields on this list. There's even one that returns to your hand like it's Captain America, so I'll be covering all of these, the benefits that they bring, and where I think they belong on this tier list, going from S to roleplay tier. Now first, we just have very basic shields that you can find at the start of the game that are pretty much no benefit, so these all obviously go in the roleplay tier. There's no benefit to using them over the better ones like the Absolute's Watchboard here, which is the first unique shield that we get. This gives benefits to people that have the Absolute's brand. They get a +1 to saving throws. It's a pretty nice little bonus early game, and it also gives you a heroism spell that you can cast once per long rest, so that's not too bad. It has 2 armor class, so I'm going to put this in the C tier because there is much better ones later on, and you may not want to roleplay and grab the Absolute brand, so that is one thing that I will be taking into consideration here, some of the benefits that people may not want. So next we got the Gloomstrand Shield. This is a pretty cool one because it gives us a +1 to stealth, so if you have a rogue early game that doesn't want to do offhand attacks, there can actually be a little bit of benefit of using this in the offhand for that increased stealth, so I will put that into the C tier there. Now, I also have some of the shields here to show off so you can see the aesthetics of them, and ones like this here are gorgeous, so I'll be covering the aesthetic of some of these shields too in this tier list, so just be ready for that. And next we got ourselves the Glowing Shield. So this has a loving protection once per short rest. If you're below 50% health, you gain 8 temporary health points. So this is actually pretty good early game because it can give you a bit of health that you may not be able to get otherwise, so I would say this is B tier because this is a one that you can get at the Goblin Camp, making it pretty easy to grab early in the game. So I just want to, I guess, put these based on where you get them and the effectiveness that it brings at that level. So that's B tier. Next, we got the Iron Vine Shield. This is interesting. So if you have Shillelagh or Shillelagh active, you get an additional... or if you get hit with a melee attack, you do piercing damage equal to your wisdom modifier. So that can be pretty good at an extra +5 piercing damage. And if you're wearing the ballast armor, that could be up to 10 extra damage, which is quite nice. You do get this in Act 2, but you can get it pretty early on in Act 2. So I would say this is probably like a B tier shield. If you got a druid in your camp or a nature cleric, they can make benefit of this because Shillelagh is actually pretty useful. So yeah. Next we got the Safeguard Shield. This just gives a +1 to saving throws, so it's like an upgraded version of the Watchdog Shield. You don't need the branding. It doesn't have heroism, but the +1 is a steady +1 saving throws. Can be quite useful early on. Next we got the Real Sparky Sparkswall. It's a funny name. I actually love it. So it has what's called the Lightning Aura, so you can consume 3 of your lightning charges and blast electricity, which jolts nearby enemies. Now, when they're jolted, they take 1d4 lightning damage each turn, and they can't make reactions, which makes this probably the best one that we covered so far with the unique lightning look there. Lightning charges builds are interesting, because you can get lightning charges really quick and easy if you're using something like the magic missiles and the Sparky Jolt Shooter, or I guess the Sparky Staff, so you can get a ton of them built up really fast. This only uses 3 of them, so that's pretty good. Next we got the Watcher Shield. So this is a +2 armor class shield. It gives advantage on perception checks, which is actually quite nice to have, and especially early on in the game, because you get this in the House of Healing, so this is Act 2. I would say that's not a bad shield to have early game. Someone in your party should probably have this equipped because the advantage on perception checks just means you're going to make a lot more perception checks. So who doesn't want that? Next, we got the Wood Shield. I guess this is all the way to the end. Wood Shield. So this gives the Woad's Ensnaring Strike bonus action, basically Ensnaring Strike without using up your action, only per short rest. So that's not a bad. Ensnaring Strike can be kind of useful. It does require concentration, and I would say this is another B tier shield. Being able to use Ensnaring Strike is massive, so I gotta give respect where it is. As a bonus action, that's not a bad way to use it. Now, we're gonna get into some of the better shields right now, because I think it's best to just touch on some of these, like the Viconia's Walking Fortress, which I'm wearing right here, so I'll show it off what this looks like. Gorgeous shield. But on top of all of that, it has 3 armor class, so that's really nice, and it gives you the Rebuke of the Mighty. So when a foe hits you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction, dealing 2 to 8 force damage, and knock it prone. Force damage being a really great damage type too, and yeah, being able to knock a creature prone is super great because they'll end their turn whenever that happens. It also gives you advantage on saving throws against spells. That is a massive benefit, and spell attack rolls against you have disadvantage, so you're going to be succeeding on saving throws and avoiding spell attacks like left, right, and center. It also has the Reflective Shell ability and the Warding Bond. So with Reflective Shell, It reflects any projectiles targeted at you back to their point of origin for 2 turns, bonus action. That's huge. And then also it has Warding Bond, so ward an ally, they gain resistance to all damage, +1 armor class and saving throws, and each time they take damage, you take an equal amount of damage. That can be okay. Sometimes it's useful, but I find that you can have someone at your camp, particularly Gale, because he can't die at camp, cast Warding Bond on people and keep them safe. But overall, I would have to say that this is obviously an S tier shield. It's just extremely useful for what it does, and it looks pretty cool to boot. I think it has the most it definitely has the most benefits of any shield. But we do have some cool heavy hitters next. So the Shield of Devotion is another shield, and I actually really like the Shield of Devotion because it brings some cool benefits. I actually locked it in the chest right now, but so basically what the Shield of Devotion does is whenever you have it active, you get an extra 1 spell slot. This is absolutely broken because if you play as a sorcerer, you can turn that spell slot into sorcery points. And then you can unequip the shield, equip it again, turn that into sorcery points. Unequip the shield, re-equip it, turn that into sorcery points. So this shield, if you want to go through a little bit of tedious work, can actually become something pretty crazy because you can get free level 6 spell slots out of it. So even without that, it's still really good. +2 has the shield bash, so you can use your reaction and knock a creature prone unless they succeed a dexterity saving throw. And it gives you a level 3 casting of aid, so 15 health. However, this aid doesn't work on your team, it only works on you. But nonetheless, S tier, because it's super useful with all those benefits. But if you want to go the extra mile with a sorcerer, you can get yourself unlimited spell slots. That's just so good to have. So without other, I guess, benefits, it's still really good. But that in addition is amazing. Next, we have the Swire's Sled Board. So this gives you the Force Conduit at the start of the turn in combat. I might have this one. Yeah, I do. The Swire's Sled Board. So it's a little uglier of a shield. Like, it's just okay. A little square action there, but it looks like a real shield, so benefits for that. But basically, it gives you Force Conduit at the start of each turn in combat. And you also get the Shield Bash, which is nice. Reaction, knock a creature prone. Force Conduit. Bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage is reduced by 1. And if you have 5 turns or more, you deal 1d4 force damage in a 6-meter radius. So you can continually stack up the Force Conduit, which is kind of nice. I would say that this one's probably another, I would say like high A to S tier. Force Conduit being extremely useful, but most combat encounters don't last that long, so I will put it in the A tier because there are some better shields out there. But next we got the Shield of the Undevout, which has the additional level 1 spell slot too. Enemies have disadvantage on saving throws against your fear spells. This doesn't just work on the fear, it also works on, like, if you use Dissonant Whispers with the Frightened ability. So, yeah, this is also an S tier, because it also has the Shield Bash, 2 armor class, but the big benefit being that extra spell slot, and if you use things like Fear or Frighten often, that is extremely useful for it. So, gotta put it up pretty high for that. Next, we got the Shield of Shielding. This is a +2 shield, and it gives you the shield spell once per long rest. I wish this was more than per long rest, because shield's such an amazing spell that not everyone gets access to, but it's still pretty good. It also has a shield bash. I would say this is an A tier shield. Getting yourself a shield spell on a shield is pretty nice. That's why it's called the Shield of Shielding. Next, we got ourselves the Studded Shield +1. This has a 3 armor class, no extra benefits, but I'm also going to put it in the A tier because a +3 armor class is huge. Viconia's Walking Fortress being obviously the best, but having a +3 armor class is really nice to have, and survivability's sake is really great too. So next, we have the Shield of Scorching Reprisal. Shield Bash, reaction, knock creature prone, as per usual, but it also gives resistance to fire damage, which can be really nice as we encounter a bit of fire in the end game. And you also get the Blazing Retaliation. Once per short rest, you can huddle behind your shield to increase your armor class by 1, and you reap Scorching Retaliation against targets who miss you. When an attacker misses you with an attack, they take 1d6 fire. If they fail the saving throw, if they succeed the saving throw, they take half that damage. So that's pretty nice. 2 armor class, resistant to fire damage. I would say this is probably another A tier shield. It's especially good if you need resistance to fire damage because it has the Shield Bash in addition to that. So makes it a pretty good shield overall. So yeah, I would have to say that that is a solid one for sure. So next we got ourselves the Shield +1. This is just a 3 armor class, similar to the other shield, probably lower mid A tier. Just +3 armor class is really nice, but there's other ones that'll give benefits like the Viconia's Walking Fortress, so gotta recognize that where it is. And yeah, next we got ourselves the Sentinel Shield. This is actually really good. It gives you a +3 to initiative, which, as you know, initiative is extremely important to have. If you have a high initiative, you can always move first, and then you just basically lay the waste to everyone else. It also gives advantage on perception checks, so similar to the other shield, which is good too. This one also gives the advantage, and it has shield bash. The Sentinel Shield, I would say, is also S tier. +3 initiative is absolutely massive. So with that, I have to say it's an S tier shield because it also has the shield bash, which is, you basically want shield bash if you can get it, because most times people that use shields don't have reactions, or if they do, it's Hellish Rebuke, which is not that amazing. But being able to get that from a shield is really nice. So huge benefit there. And next, we got the Absolute's Protector. So this gives the Absolute's Aegis. If the wielder bears the Absolute's brand, the damage received by spells is reduced by 1. So that's kind of nice. Reduction of 1 to spell damage, and that applies to things like Magic Missile, hitting multiple times. We get Shield Bash, so my favorite. It's good. Every shield should have it. We also get Fire Shield Chill, so be able to cast that at level 4, get ourselves a little bit of a cold protection there, and deals cold damage to attackers, a 2d8, and halves all fire damage. So this is a very solid shield as well. I'd have to put it probably up into the... I'd probably put it in the A tier, lower A tier. Absolute's brand items aren't fantastic because not everyone brands themselves, but reducing spell damage by 1, Shield Bash, and the Fire Shield Chill per long rest is quite nice. So you can swap this on, swap it off. That's probably the best way to go about using this shield. And next we got the Iron Band Shield +1. Again, another +3 shield, so A tier. +3 is nice to get that extra armor class. No extra benefit. Next, we got the Justiciere's Great Shield. So this has Shield Bash, woohoo! But it also has Darkness Cloak. So this is basically a bonus action hide, but on top of that, it also casts darkness around you. This goes amazing with Shar Spear of the Night, which also does a bunch of darkness. You can hide. I'm going to put the Justiciere's Great Shield in the S tier because being able to turn invisible and hide as a bonus action from a shield is massive. Extremely useful, so yeah, it has to go in the S tier. That's just one that's really nice. You also get advantage on perception ability checks too, so woohoo, awesome. Next, we got ourselves Ketheric's Shield. This is another really good shield because it gives a +1 to spell save DC and spell attack rolls. No other shield has that benefit, so giving yourself benefits to your arcane casting is massive. It also has Shield Bash, which you know, it's great. And it has advantage on dexterity saving throws. Advantage on dexterity saving throws means you're going to get hit by a lot less fireballs. The +1 to spell save DC and spell attack rolls makes it one of the best shields for mage characters, and you get this at the end of Act 2, so most people will end up getting the shield. I'm putting it in the S tier, lower S tier, but still, it's extremely useful of a shield. And next we got ourselves, this is the Shield of, I'm trying to find it here. I guess we'll go with the Adamantine Shield next. So this is whenever an attacker attacks you and they miss, they're sent reeling for 2 turns. Now, if you're doing a Boots of Story Clamor build, reeling gives -1 penalty to attack rolls, and then you can proc reverberation off of that. So this actually goes really well on multiple types of builds. It goes great on Radiating Orb builds. It goes great on any type of build that's reverberation, and you can get it in Act 1. I'm putting this shield into the S tier because it's just super beneficial to send someone reeling. It also has Shield Bash early in the game, so that's really great. And you can't be critical hit while wearing this shield. Now, I do prefer the armor, but this is still a really good option too if you want to go with the shield instead because, hey, it's a shield. It's a good benefit, and we like that. Next, we have Abdel's Trusted Shield. This is Shield Bash, and it gives you protection from missiles. Level 2 spell. Caster protected from ranged weapon attacks for 10 turns. Basically, ranged weapon attacks event you have disadvantage, and the damage is halved, which is actually really nice. I would probably put this up at the very top of the A tier. I don't know if it's good enough to put it into the S tier, but protection from missiles is really nice. For short rest per 10 turns is really actually good. That could potentially be an S tier one. I'm just going to put it in the A tier. So yeah, and then finally we have ourselves, I'm just trying to find this shield that I haven't talked about yet, the Absolute Protector, Safeguard Shield, Gloom Strand. I think I might have actually copied a shield down twice, because I don't see this extra shield, and I don't recall it. I think I talked about pretty much everything, so yeah, we'll just, I guess, put somewhere Z tier, but No, wait a second. This is the shield that I talked about at the start. This is the Captain America shield. It's called the Shield of Returning. So this is cool because you can I have it here. You can only use console commands to get it. That's why I couldn't find it on the list, because it's not technically supposed to be in the game. Shield of Returning, +2. The shield binds to your being, returned to your hand if thrown. Captain America style. So that's actually really cool, because you got this Captain America circle shield, and I guess I'll show you what that looks like. If you go to throw it, the shield will end up returning to you, so you don't have to worry about losing the shield. You always got it. So Shield of Returning, it does have a pretty janky looking appearance there, because you're not supposed to have it, but you throw the shield and it comes back into your hand. Captain America style. That's pretty cool. I wish they would have completed this and made it a full weapon, because it's a lot of fun to use. Even though it doesn't deal extra damage, they should have made it a throwing weapon to add, not just because it's technically an improvised weapon at this point, but it's still extremely useful, or extremely fun to throw around. So I'll just throw it again there at someone. It doesn't do a lot of damage because it's not meant to be used, but yeah, that's cool. Captain America style. So there it is. That is all the shields in Baldur's Gate 3. There's 28 of them, and that's including the one that I just put on the list. So 27 real shields that you can get in-game. Shields are pretty cool and defensive, so I usually have shields on all my classes unless they're a dedicated dual wielder. But there it is. If you found this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.